Good morning and welcome to the ISO Board of Governors General Session. Please note that all attendees are currently in a listen-only mode, and this meeting is being recorded. There will be opportunity for public comment throughout today's call, and we will make sure to give you all instructions on how to enter the comment queue at that time. With that, I'd now like to formally get us started and turn it over to Chair Severin Borenstein. Please go
Thank you,
ahead, sir.
Silas. And welcome to everyone joining us today. Uh, we have a fairly short agenda, but it's got one of my favorite topics of the year, which is the election of the new governing board chair, um, uh, and as well as the decision on the 2026 budget and some business practice manual changes. And we have, for the first time in this go round, a consent agenda item that those of you following this know about, the gas resource management that the governing body voted on day before yesterday, and is on our consent agenda. So we're getting used to this new approach, and this will be our first time out. So I think things will go smoothly, but I will leave that to Roger to handle. So, uh, with that said, I think I call for general public. Oh
Yeah,
no! First, I asked Roger to do the roll call.
yes, and we'll be efficient. I'll do the roll call, and if it's okay with you, Chair Bornstein, I'll move directly to the general public comment after that.
Perfect.
So let's start with you, Chair Bornstein.
Here.
Vice Chair Edo.
Present.
Governor Gotova.
Present.
Governor Leslie.
Present.
And Governor Shorey.
Here.
Thank you, governors. All present, accounted for. We have a full quorum. Sorry to say, although my new favorite chair will be coming next term, my current favorite chair is going to be out. And but it's been a wonderful year, and we really appreciate all your guidance. For general public comment, so this is my opportunity to, first of all, I would acknowledge if we had any general public comment letters that were not related to items on the agenda. And we do not have any public comment letters for today's meeting. But I do want to note that with our new version of the consent agenda, we are now reformatting a little bit. And for this meeting in particular and going forward, public comment at the beginning of the meeting will give an opportunity for any public comment on the consent agenda, as well as any public comment for items not on today's agenda. And that's so that we can comply with our open meeting requirements of making sure we do provide folks public comment on all items on our agenda. And as we move forward, and starting with the next meeting, we're going to also put our minute approval on the consent agenda, just to kind of make the meetings a little bit more efficient and move a little bit more smoothly. We didn't get that on there in a noticed time this time, so we will do that starting with our next meeting, which I think is in February. So with that, Silas, if you can check and see if there are any public comments related to the consent agenda today or for items not otherwise on the agenda.
If you would like to speak under general public comment, you can please press the raise hand icon at the bottom center of your Zoom screen, or if you're dialed into the phone only line, you can press #2. Okay, there are no hands up for general public comment.
Great. Thank you, Silas. Our next item, and again, I'll just keep the baton for a moment, Chair Borenstein, is a decision on our October 30th, 2025 Board of Governors General Session minutes. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second. I'm sorry, who was that, Angelina?
Well, it was all of us, but I'll take it.
Okay, we just need to note it for our record. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion passes. And I will now hand it over to our CEO for his CEO report.
Thanks, Roger.
Good morning, Chair Bornstein, Vice Chair Edo, and governing board members. It's a pleasure to be with you for the final general session of what has certainly been a very productive and transformational 2025. I would like to take a few minutes this morning to reflect on the past year and briefly look ahead, touching on reliability, grid modernization, resource adequacy, transmission, regional market development, governance, leadership, and employee engagement. Once again, in 2025, system reliability was our most fundamental focus and accomplishment. For the third consecutive year, ISO operators successfully managed the grid through multiple heat waves and ongoing wildfire risk without calling a single flex alert. That outcome reflects disciplined operations and regional coordination, improved situational awareness, and the growing contribution of new resources, particularly batteries, that are helping us manage net peak conditions more effectively. This performance underscores that even amid escalating load growth and challenging weather conditions, the grid we operate today is much more resilient than it was just a few years ago. That reliability performance is closely tied to our control center modernization efforts. In 2025, we made meaningful progress modernizing the tools our operators rely on every day. This year, we undertook an innovative pilot using artificial intelligence to help manage planned outages and maintenance coordination, an early but promising example of how advanced analytics can improve efficiency and operator decision-making. I do note that this work is not about replacing human judgment. It's about giving our operators better tools to sustain reliability under increasingly complex conditions. On resource adequacy and onboarding new resources, the pace remains extraordinary. As of December 1st, we had successfully onboarded another 5,713 megawatts of new capacity in 2025, including more than 4,200 megawatts of battery storage. This level of onboarding requires close coordination with our state, utility, and resource development partners, and we appreciate the partnerships that have allowed us to sustain this type of progress for the last 5 years. Transmission planning and interconnection queue reform are also major focus areas this year. The board-approved 2024-2025 transmission plan included 31 upgrades, representing approximately $4.8 billion in investment at build-out, driven largely by electrification-related load growth, data centers, and electric vehicles, especially in the Bay Area. Importantly, the plan includes 5 reconductoring projects using advanced conductors to increase capacity at lower cost than new lines, emphasizing the ISO's commitment to grid-enhancing technologies. We also expect to assume operational control of the SunZia transmission line shortly, a landmark project using our subscriber PTO model to deliver large-scale wind energy from New Mexico. On interconnection queue management, we continued removing friction from the system and refining our practices. Cluster 15 reforms reduced more than 500 applications down to a much more manageable and commercially viable set of projects, with initial study results delivered on schedule. We also implemented intra-cluster prioritization to allow viable projects to move forward sooner, and we've posted further refinements for Cluster 16 based on lessons learned. Turning to the extended day-ahead market, 2025 was a pivotal year. We made substantial progress toward next year's launch through market simulation, advanced training, and implementation readiness. Perhaps most importantly, we received strong validation of EDAM design from FERC in August, with approvals that enable PacifiCorp and Portland General Electric to join in 2026 and to confirm interim congestion revenue allocation rules. Commitments across the West continue to grow, and EDAM will build directly on the strong performance of the Western Energy Imbalance Market, which delivered another $412 million in savings in the third quarter alone, bringing cumulative benefits to nearly $8 billion since inception, not to mention tremendous reliability and resilience benefits across summer and winter operations. AB 825 and the Pathways Initiative marked historic governance progress. The passage of Assembly Bill 825 in September established a framework for an independent regional organization should specified conditions be met. And earlier this year, Step 1 of the Westwide Governance Pathways Initiative was also triggered, shifting primary decision-making authority for Western markets to the Western Energy Markets Governing Body. The CAISO stakeholder engagement model continued to evolve and strengthen in 2025. In 2025 alone, we hosted 142 stakeholder meetings with more than 12,000 participants, delivered a comprehensive EDAM training curriculum, and provided specialized market training for state regulators across the West. We also welcomed over 100 tours to our Folsom campus and expanded international collaboration with peer system operators through the GEO15 and the International System Operators Network, the chairmanship of which I assumed earlier this year. This level of stakeholder engagement is demanding, but it's essential to building trust, improving outcomes, and ensuring markets work as intended. And we will continue to refine the model in 2026. Finally, a word on leadership culture and people. Employee engagement improved meaningfully in 2025 at the CAISO. Vacancy and turnover rates remained low, and we welcomed 60 new employees. These results reflect a strong culture, sustained investment in leadership development, and the commitment of our people to the ISO's important public service mission. As we enter 2026, excuse me, the ISO is positioned for another consequential year, with priorities centered on reliability, market evolution, governance transition, and organizational readiness. Reliability and operations will remain paramount. We'll continue to emphasize safety, compliance, and further modernization of control center tools to support operators as systems conditions grow more complex. We'll explore additional ways of using advanced analytics and artificial intelligence to play an increasing role in improving situational awareness, operational efficiency, and interconnection study processes. Of course, EDAM implementation and launch will be a defining milestone in 2026. The ISO will focus on successful May launch with PacifiCorp, fall onboarding with Portland General Electric, and sustained readiness activities to ensure a smooth transition for market participants. EDAM remains central to enhancing reliability, affordability, and regional coordination across the West. Regional governance and AB 825 implementation will advance significantly. The ISO will continue preparing to partner with the future regional organization envisioned in AB 825, working closely with West-wide Governance Pathways Formation Committee. In parallel, the ISO will deliver 2 required legislative reports in early 2026 on workforce impacts and on AB 825's effects on the bulk electric system, developed in close coordination with state partners and stakeholders. We look forward to working closely with the board and the Formation Committee in 2026 to ensure that the regional organization meets its statutorily defined requirements and address key issues raised by the board as we negotiate the RO-ISO agreement. Interconnection transmission planning efforts will continue to focus on speed, efficiency, scalability, and making best use of existing resources. Building on recent queue reforms, the ISO will further reduce friction in the interconnection process while advancing transmission solutions needed to meet electrification-driven load growth, large new loads, and SB 100 objectives at least cost, helping to bend the cost curve in the name of affordability for all electricity consumers. Load flexibility and large load preparedness will be an expanding area of focus. The ISO will continue working with state agency and utilities to anticipate and manage accelerating load growth, positioning the ISO as an enabler of flexible demand and more efficient grid utilization. And of course, in 2026, the ISO will continue investing in leadership development, workforce capabilities, and employee engagement to ensure that we have the expertise and resilience needed to deliver on our mission in a rapidly evolving energy landscape. In closing, none of this progress happens without strong partnerships. I want to thank the Board of Governors for your guidance and support this year, our many stakeholders and state partners for your engagement and collaboration, and finally, the dedicated staff of the ISO. Your professionalism, your expertise, and commitment to the people we serve are what keep the lights on and position us for the challenges ahead. Chair Bornstein, as I pass the microphone back to you, it's been an absolute pleasure having you serve as chair this year. We look forward to the succession discussion later this morning and closing out a very successful 2025 and what lies ahead for a productive and another successful 2026. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Any questions from the board? I have one question. You mentioned this pilot to use AI to manage outages, but you didn't mention results. How did it go? And is there a report?
There will. Yep. I think we're still getting it up and running with 080. And next year we'll report on the initial findings and see how well it works and get the reaction of the system operators. So we just launched it, in the latter part of this year. So we've got a little bit of work to do before we start reporting results. But I'm excited to see how it looks next year. And we're also going to continue Neil Miller and his team will continue also looking to see if we have any other applications of AI in the interconnection queuing process. So 2026, we'll report out on how it's actually performed.
Very exciting. And speaking of the queue, you said we have reduced it from 500, but you didn't give a rough number. I know it's
about 145 projects, 68 megawatts, 68 gigawatts of remaining projects, which still represents, I think, a very healthy supply curve. About a 72% reduction in total requests going into cluster 15, and just a much more manageable number of commercially viable projects aligned with the availability of current or future plant transmission capacity in California.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Elliot. And we will move on to the WEM governing body chair update. And we have Chair Wagner with us today, virtually. And Rebecca, take it away.
Good morning, Governor Bornstein, Chair Bornstein, soon to be Chair Eto, and our fellow governors. It's good to see you guys again. I appreciate that we've gotten to engage in a meeting yesterday, and I also wanted to acknowledge that we appreciated your attendance at our governing body meeting on Tuesday. I have a couple of items that I want to go through. First, I wanted to note that at our meeting on Tuesday, the governing body approved the Gas Resource Management Initiative unanimously. We heard presentations from Idaho Power, Portland General, and Pacific Gas and Electric. It really helped frame and give context to the actual initiative, as obviously we heard from management as well as DMM and MSC. That is on your consent agenda, and we look forward to that moving forward. A couple of other updates. We got a benefits report on EIM, which is always good news. EIM continues to deliver benefits across the West, and this is driven by the size and the diversity of the footprint. I never want to lose sight of where we started, how we started, and how we've built success, especially leading into EDAM go live next year. We also have 2 new entrants expected in EIM in 2026. So operating well, delivering benefits, and still growing. I think that's great news. Just a couple of updates with respect to groups that we work with, the body of state regulators. We had strong engagement from the commissioners in 2026. It's a great working relationship with them and ISO staff. In fact, the ISO hosted training for the commissioners and their staff, and it was well received. I heard a lot of great feedback on it. So good job to ISO staff that participated and made that a meaningful opportunity for commissioners and their staff to really get better understanding as we move into EDAM. The Regional Issues Forum had a busy year and continues to be a valuable resource for the governing body. They are our stakeholder forum that elevates ideas and provides this great opportunity for engagement with the various sectors and hearing from what's on the minds of stakeholders. For 2026, they've scheduled their roundtable, which will be a review of the roadmap that was just published. That's going to be held in March, and they have 2 other meetings scheduled to coincide with the governing body's regional meeting, as well as the symposium next October. And they're working hard on the transition to become the stakeholder committee of the ROE. I guess that's what we're calling it, the ROWE. And they just issued a paper, received a lot of public comment on that, and they're processing that. And I'm happy to see that the ROE, Pathways, and RIF are working together, because I really believe that the Regional Issues Forum has been a great value to the governing body and hopefully moving forward with the row governing body. Looking forward to 2026. Obviously, our highest priority is a successful launch of the extended day ahead market in May. I can't believe that is like less than 6 months away, right around the corner. Yesterday, we received a briefing from Heather Kelly on the status of onboarding and implementation, including the market simulation and parallel ops, and all that goes into that. It's mind-boggling. I so impressed with all the work the ISO is doing. And also, PacifiCorp earlier this year hosted an EDAM implementation meeting for stakeholders, one in Portland and one in Salt Lake City. All of the governing body was able to attend either in person or virtually, and really got to see behind the scenes nuts and bolts of what it takes for the utility to transition and prepare for go live in May. So clearly that's a near and dear to our heart. We want a successful launch and look forward to that in just a few months. In closing, I just wanted to thank Severin. You have been a great fellow chair. I've enjoyed working with you, and I look forward to working with you, Joe. It's the good part of being the chair of the governing body because you get two chairs to work with. So I appreciate that. And I hope you all have a healthy and happy holiday season, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rebecca, and it has been a real pleasure to work with you and get to know you a bit better through this process. One thing that I think would be good to just include in items coming to our consent agenda, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but well, since I was listening in, is did the governing body make any changes to the item before voting on it after the proposal that we were briefed on?
Yes, and I'm happy to note that for the public record. I did notify you, and I would assume that staff would flag any changes because that would be unusual for us to make a change like that. But no, we approved it as it was proposed to us.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Chair Wagner? Okay, well, thank you very much, and happy holidays to you too. Okay, so we are moving on to the consent agenda, and I think I will turn this back to Roger to manage this for the first time. Well,
thank
first
you.
Time right now, anyway.
Right. Feels like the first time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Borenstein. As you mentioned, next agenda item number 5 is our consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda coming from the governing body's primary authority approval of the gas management resources. And just as a reminder, as this is the first time for the new iteration of the consent agenda, that with step 1 of the pathways governance that was approved by the board and the governing body and implemented in July of 2025, the governing body now has primary authority for approving WEIM and EDAM market rules for filing at FERC, rather than the joint authority role that it previously had, at least since 2021. And so these matters are thus considered in the governing body general session, as has been discussed and as Rebecca, Chair Wagner, has explained, after the full complement of presentations and stakeholder input and all of the pieces that go into that management presentation, et cetera. And then if approved, that item is placed on the board's consent agenda, which is what we have today. The board remains fully informed on these matters, and in case there's any questions about that, board members have been provided with the same briefing materials, all the information that the governing body has been provided leading up to this meeting. And the board members, as with the governing body members, always have access to management and can seek out any information they believe is necessary for their preparation. And so voting on the consent agenda, which we will do very shortly here, is meant to be deferential to the governing body approval. That's what was approved in step 1 of pathways, and where generally the board would vote to approve the consent agenda. Board members will, as we've said, they're well briefed on the items. They've had opportunities to raise any concerns in advance. But again, the board always retains the right to remove items from the consent agenda for further consideration. And we expect that to be rare given the process and given how it has worked in the past, but that is the process. So with that, let me go ahead and move forward, and I will ask, and will be the process, to ask the board if it is prepared to vote now on the consent agenda.
So you are asking if there's anyone who wants to remove an item from the consent agenda.
Right.
Yeah. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I think we can move on.
Thank you, Chair Bornstein. So let me go ahead and read the motion. Move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the December 18, 2025 consent agenda as described in the memorandum dated December 10, 2025. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Say, first was Severin, second was Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, governors. The motion passes, and we can move on to the next agenda item.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roger. And I think we now move to the decision on the 2026 budget. And the first item within that is public comment letters.
And we have not received any public
We
comment.
have no public comment letters. So we will move on to Ryan Sagasio to start this item.
Well, good morning, governors. We are here today to seek your approval on the final draft of the 2026 budget. This is the draft has been posted publicly for about the last 6 weeks. We have since briefed you in executive session, as well as had a final stakeholder meeting to discuss the budget. April Gordon and Thomas Setliff are here today, who are the experts in financial planning behind the scenes, to walk you through a quick summary of the budget. So, April.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Good morning, governors. Next slide, please. For the 2026 revenue requirement, can we go back one slide, please? Thank you. The story for this 2026 revenue requirement really comes down to several of our rates are actually going to see a decrease because of the higher day-ahead volumes that we'll be picking up with EDAM, even as our O&M budget is going to rise due to additional headcount and additional resources to support EDAM. And our funding for the projects are going to come from our reserves. I'll take you down through each of the lines to give you a bit of a highlight, and then we'll go ahead and move right into a deeper dive into the O&M budget with Thomas. In regards to the O&M budget, we are seeing a $14.3 million increase. This is going to be due to additional positions, 13 additional positions to support EDAM. We're also seeing an increase in our telecommunication expenses and our outsourced services to support growing headcount. Our debt service is going to remain $14.7 million. Our cash funded capital, now with the 2026 revenue requirement, we're not asking for any additional capital. We are going to pull our project budget from our reserves. Our other costs and revenues are going to see a $17.4 million reduction, and this goes back to how we're shifting the collection of rates with the new EDAM shift. Our operating cost reserve adjustment is seeing a $4.7 million reduction at $3.9 million. And now the last two components of the revenue requirement are offsetting the costs that we are projecting for our O&M budget and for our debt service. All told, our $249.9 million revenue requirement for 2026 comes in right below our $250 million revenue requirement cap. The next slide is going to be going over the O&M budget, and I'm going to introduce Thomas Setliff to go over that with you. Next two slides, please.
April, can you see it, or sorry?
And
I'm happy. It's a little delayed. Just next slide.
Next slide, please.
Oh,
Wait. Do we have a problem? We're on
It's a little
we're,
sticky. Yeah.
we're seeing the 20, well, now we're seeing the O&M budget, not the 2026 highlights. Which did you
We
want?
should be, thank you. Right there is perfect.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's a little sticky. Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Sutliff, and I'll be walking us through the O&M budget for 2026. So as the largest component of the revenue requirement, I want to highlight the main drivers of this $14.3 million increase in the table that you can see on the screen. So the first and the largest category to note is the salaries and benefits, which is increasing $8.7 million. As April noted, this is due primarily to fund an additional 13 positions, primarily to support EDAM operations. And this also includes a 4.5% budgeted merit and promotion increase for the entire staff. This budget is offset, partially included in this number, by a reduction in our benefit burden, which we were able to reduce from 30 to 29%, primarily by leveraging our self-funded healthcare reserves. And we also were able to reduce our structured overtime amount for our system operations group due to having a consistently fully staffed group with very low turnover. In the category of telecommunications and hardware maintenance, half of the $1.2 million increase is driven by some telecommunication expense where contract pricing protection have been removed. And the other half is hardware maintenance driven by inflationary growth and licensing model changes with specific vendors. In our outsourced contracts category, the $3.6 million increase, all but $100,000 of that is due to our software as a service, also known as software subscriptions. And those are increasing due to 4 primary drivers. We have vendor-driven license model changes, inflationary cost growth, headcount user growth, and then some new and expanding purchases. And in the final category of training, travel, and other costs, this is primarily driven by CAISO-funded portion of the October Symposium in 2026 and internal and external engagement activities. So I'll now hand it back over to April, who will continue with the remaining components of our revenue requirement. Thank you.
Can I ask a couple questions? Or would you rather we wait till the end?
Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So the stakeholder symposium is partially responsible for travel, training, and other costs, but we didn't have a symposium this year. So that's a pretty small change going from no symposium to symposium. Am I understanding that correctly, or were there other reductions that are partially offsetting the cost of the symposium? Because the symposium is a big deal.
Yeah. Morning, Severin. This is Joanne Serena. I'll take that question. In terms of the symposium, the majority of the cost is covered through the registration fee that we collect, as well as the sponsorship fees that we collect. So the actual amount of ISO cost is fairly low.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question is, Thomas, I heard you say leveraging the healthcare reserves to hold down the benefits costs. Is that something that's sustainable, or is that a one-time dipping into reserves?
I'll go ahead and hand this to April. She deals very closely with that specific component of our budget.
And how big an effect is this are we talking about? Thanks.
To answer your question with a brief answer, yes, we'll be able to sustain that. We've built up the reserve to handle such situations like this. As we see growth in the premiums, we'll be able to leverage that reserve moving forward.
Great. Okay. We generally don't think of reserves as sort of the thing that we can pay the same expense year after year. So I'm a little surprised, I guess.
The reserve will be able to handle the healthcare costs under our plan. And as premiums grow, we'll leverage more of that reserve moving forward. But it will actually reduce until we can build it back up again.
Okay. Okay. So we are dipping in. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you. The debt service is going to remain at $14.7 million going into 2026. We have $130.3 million in principal remaining to be collected as part of the revenue requirements going out to 2039. The $14.7 million requirement actually consists of two components. One is the $11.7 million in debt payments due to bondholders, and then $3 million would be for the collected amount for required reserve. The debt service is going to be flat until February of 2039. However, we do have the ability to call the bond in 2031 should the interest rates be favorable. Next slide, please. For the cash funded capital, once again, we are not asking for any cash funded capital go in this revenue requirement. We will be pulling it from our capital reserves to fund the project budget. The project budget, in the previous version of the revenue requirement that we presented in October, was $25 million. We have increased that to $26 million. This is the only major change between the prior version of the revenue requirement to this version. The revenue requirement, the project budget is going to be used to support our portfolios that are listed on the slide, and a full list of our projects are available in our budget book. And I believe that's attachment A of your bond or of your board memo. Other costs and revenues, we are going to see a decrease of $17.4 million. This is primarily due to the shift of how we are going to be collecting our energy imbalance administrative charges. And we're also going to see a reduction in the nodal pricing model fee. That nodal pricing model fee is paid specifically by PacifiCorp, and once they transition from into EDAM in May, we will only be collecting 1/3 of that nodal pricing model fee. In regards to the energy imbalance market administrative charges, we are only going to be collecting the market services piece, the real-time market services piece, as part of the other offsetting other revenue in this category. All told, our other revenue going into 2026 is projected to be about $51.2 million. Next slide, please. Our operating cost reserve adjustment reflects the favorable ending of 2024, where we are able to recognize a $3.9 million offset to our revenue requirement in 2026. The operating cost reserve adjustment is made up of three components. We have a 15% reserve for the O&M budget, and then we're also returning the 2.9 from the prior year's debt service collection, and then we have the true up from 2024, which is about $3.1 million. This $3.9 million credit helps to offset the total revenue requirement. Next slide, please. All of the aforementioned slides takes us to this story where we are seeing a reduction in our volumes, our rates for market services, our system operations, real-time dispatch, as well as our WEIM service rates. These reductions are driven by the additional volumes that we're going to see brought in due to extended day-ahead market when it launches in May. The other note here is we, as part of the last cost of service study and as approved by the board, we are going to retire system operations charge code 4561, which is system operations, and we are going to kick off two new charges, system operations balance authority area services and system operations real-time dispatch. Apologies, it's a bit of a mouthful, but we can go forward and just call it charge code 4566 and 4567. Next slide, please.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
What's the assumption of volume for PacifiCorp coming online in May or June?
I don't have that information at this time, but I can follow up and provide it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a little bit of where we've been in this journey. We kicked everything off in July of this year with a stakeholder meeting. We had our internal budgeting process between July and October. We presented the draft of the budget to our stakeholders October 30th, whereas we also did a review with the Board of Governors. We had a follow-up meeting in November. We had no comments from the stakeholders. And then we finalized our internal budgeting process up till now. With your approval of our 2026 revenue requirement, we will go ahead and post that out for all to see and become effective January 1 of next year. I would like to pause for a brief moment and thank everybody who actually contributed to this revenue requirement. It took all of the budget owners as well as the executive team to come to this point, and I appreciate all of their contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, April. And now we will ask for comments from the Board of Governors or questions. I think we have had a couple, but was anybody holding back? Okay, then we will move on and ask for public comment. I think is there anyone in the room? Or is the room, I'm not sure.
The room does not have public comment.
Okay.
It does not have anyone in the public. That's just
Okay.
internal folks.
Okay, so then we will ask Silas to see if there is anyone online who wants to make a comment.
If you'd like to make a comment, you can press the raise hand icon on Zoom or #2 on the phone only line. Okay, there's no hands up on public comment.
Okay, then we will move along, and I will turn it back to Roger to take the vote.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Bornstein. Move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the 2026 Grid Management Charge Revenue Requirement Project Budget and resulting rates as set forth in Attachment A to the memorandum dated December 10, 2025. Have a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Governors. The motion passes, and back to you, Chair Bornstein.
Thank you. The next item is the decision on the business practice manual for BPM change management. And I will turn it back to you, Roger, for any public comment letters.
And we have none today. And so that means we can move on to Joanne Serena, our VP of Stakeholder Engagement and Customer Experience, to introduce the matter.
Thank you, Roger. Good morning, Board of Governors and everyone who's joined us today. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Rochelle Wiltsius. She's our Director of Customer Readiness and is responsible for the onboarding of our scheduling coordinators, the development of our customer training programs, and our stakeholder process that governs our business practice manuals, or BPMs. In front of you today is a decision regarding proposed changes to the BPM for change management, essentially the BPM of all BPMs. This particular BPM is not changed often, but any change to it does require board approval. Rochelle is going to provide you with a bit more background on how the change process works and the proposed changes we would like to make to update and streamline the overall process. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rochelle.
Good morning, Chair Bornstein, Vice Chair Edo, Board of Governors, and executive staff. As Joanne said, my name is Rochelle Wiltsius, and I serve as the Director of Customer Readiness. So today I'm presenting for your consideration proposed changes to the Business Practice Manual for BPM Change Management. If we can go ahead and go to that first slide. So before I walk through the specific proposed changes, I'd like to briefly provide you some background on what business practice manuals are and how the business practice manual change process works, just to help frame the updates that you'll see in the following slides. The California Business Practice Manuals, or you'll hear me call them BPMs, define the detailed implementation guidance beneath the CAISO tariff. The BPM library currently includes 23 manuals that collectively outline our bid-to-bill processes. All BPM changes move through a 2-month formal stakeholder review process, which is governed by and outlined in its own business practice manual, the Business Practice Manual for Change Management. And as Joanne indicated, the changes to this BPM are before you today because while most BPM revisions don't require board approval, this specific BPM governs the entire change process for all BPMs, and such board approval is required. The changes we are recommending are really part of a broader effort to modernize our business practice manual change process by introducing new revision classifications, clearer status definitions, and improved timing for flexibility for stakeholders. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So the recommended BPM revisions have been organized into 4 primary groups for you. I'm going to walk through each of these groupings at a high level, and this slide reflects the first 2 that you'll see. So the first group of updates focuses on improving clarity and transparency across the proposed revision request, or PRR, lifecycle. A proposed revision request is the formal mechanism used to request a change to a business practice manual and may be submitted through our BPM tool by either the California ISO or external stakeholders when an update to a BPM is needed. As these requests progress from submission through approval and implementation, clear status definitions are really critical for both internal coordination and stakeholder visibility. A new pending project implementation proposed revision request status is being added to provide flexibility for submissions that are pending downstream project execution. This allows us to better align these PRRs with actual implementation timing and resource planning. In addition, a new section has been added to this BPM to formally define and standardize each of those proposed revision request stages and statuses, ensuring consistent use across the organization with stakeholders. Next, we've enhanced the proposed revision request impact analysis requirements. The updated template, which is required for every proposed revision request submission, now requires even more detailed information about market, system, and operational impacts, as well as any additional support measures that may be needed to implement that change. This ensures that our stakeholders receive more complete and actionable information during the review process. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, continuing with the remaining 2 groupings of the proposed revisions, this slide highlights the changes in Group 3, which focuses on enhancements to communication processes and timelines. And that includes expanded eligibility for submission of a proposed revision request to California ISO BPM owners and coordinators, and it also improves internal accountability and streamlines submissions. External notification timing requirements were also updated to provide greater flexibility while making sure we're still maintaining transparency with our stakeholders. In addition, the submittal timing for minor changes, which we categorize as Category A, has been standardized with all other categories to promote consistency and predictability across the process. The fourth and final group consists of general maintenance updates, and these include the removal of outdated market references that are just no longer applicable, as well as broad grammar and clarity improvements throughout the BPM to ensure that the document remains accurate, current, and easy to interpret. Next slide. All of the proposed revisions outlined here followed our existing BPM change management process and were presented and discussed with stakeholders during 2 public BPM change management meetings held in October and November. Stakeholders were provided the opportunity in these meetings and through our tool to ask questions, raise concerns, and submit formal feedback on these changes. We received no oppositions or formal objections during that proposed revision request review process, and stakeholders expressed overall support for the modernization of this BPM. So this concludes my presentation on the proposed changes to the Business Practice Manual for BPM Change Management. Thank you for your time and consideration of these recommended enhancements, and I'd be happy to take any questions or comments that you have.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I have a quick question. When was the last time these change provisions were updated. And was there something that prompted it, or is this sort of just housekeeping from accumulated needs?
So it's been a while since this particular BPM was updated. In fact, I think in the last 6 years I've been here, we haven't made any updates to the process. What prompted this particular change and the true up is originally the addition of that pending project implementation status, as we want to provide stakeholders additional time to comment on BPM changes as it relates to project implementations.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just have a very quick comment. I wanted to thank the team and everybody at ISO again for running an excellent stakeholder process and making sure that this is a thoughtful, engaged process that reflects the interests to the extent possible of all parties. And the fact that there are no comments and the stakeholders accept this and agree with it is again a testament to the effectiveness of the organization and the procedures and processes we have in place, especially the stakeholder process, of which we're all collectively very proud. So thank you and good job.
I second that.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other comments, I will turn it back to Roger.
Yeah, and before we do that, thank you.
Oh,
Let's ask for public comment.
Public comment.
That's okay. It's a good thing it's your
Silence.
last. It's a good thing it's your last meeting as chair,
Yeah,
sir.
really. Well, I was almost getting the hang of it.
Right. Well, we could
Only
defer
took a
that
year.
motion if you want. We could
Yeah.
defer the change of the chair.
Roger,
No,
you're
no, no.
brutal today.
Oh, I told you it was a happy day today. It's a good day. We're just having a little bit of fun, a little bit of levity. But Silas, let's go ahead and go for the public comment and get me off the hook here.
All right. Well, if you'd like to make a public comment, you can hit the raise hand icon on Zoom or #2 on the phone only line. All right. No hands up for public comment.
Okay, Roger, now take it away.
Thank you, Chair Bornstein. Move that the ISO Board of Governors approves the proposed changes to the ISO Business Practice Manual for Change Management as described in the memorandum dated December 10, 2025. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Governors. The motion passes. Back to you, Chair Bornstein.
Okay, we now move to the annual election of the ISO Board of Governors Chair and Vice Chair. As probably everyone on this call is aware, since 2021, we have elected chairs of the Board of Governors for one-year terms. And the year is coming to an end, and so it is time for election of a new chair and a new vice chair. Am I supposed to turn this back to you, Roger?
Well, you can do either way. I think we kind of ping pong on that. It's really all about the discussion from the board as to who it's nominating for each of those positions.
But it's listed here that we have public comment. First we're supposed to discuss Board of Governor nominations.
Correct.
I would like to take this opportunity to nominate Joe Edo to be chair of the Board of Governors for 2026.
I agree.
Okay.
Second. If you need a second. I don't know if nominations need a second.
Yeah.
Well,
we will vote on that. But I guess the other thing is if there's anyone else that says, no, I want it to be me, or I want it to be Jan or someone else. So you're welcome to make those comments. But if there's no other thoughts on that, we can then move to the next nomination, which would be for a vice chair.
I would like to nominate Angelina Delitova to be the vice chair for 2026.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Double second
if needed.
Double second if needed.
Okay.
Concur.
Okay.
Well, then why don't we go ahead, hearing no more discussion, why don't we go ahead and take public comment?
I just wanted to say
Oh.
one thing. I mean, following up on what Severin had said since 2021, that we do have this process, and I think it's a testament to the board's resilience and inclusivity and ability of everybody to serve as chair and vice chair, and that's an important function. And the fact that this is a rotation that allows us to all participate in governance and work collaboratively with stakeholders, with the ISO management and officers, and become more steeped into the operational issues is of benefit to all of us. And it's wonderful that we have the opportunity to all do that and that everybody steps up to serve. So I'm very happy that we instituted this process and we're continuing with it. So congratulations to all of us. Yay.
Thank you, Angelina. Okay, now we will ask for public comment.
All right, so for public comment, you can press the raise hand icon on Zoom or #2 on your phone. No hands up for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Silas. So we now move to the vote, and I turn it back to Roger.
Yeah, this one I'm going to have to be on overtime. There's a lot of words in here, so let me be as efficient as I can. Move that the ISO Board of Governors elects Governor Joe Edo to serve as chair of the ISO Board of Governors pursuant to Article 3, Section 4.3 of the ISO's bylaws, effective January 1, 2026 to December 31, 2026, or until a successor is elected, which shall be as soon as practicable thereafter. And move that the ISO Board of Governors elects Governor Angelina Galitova to serve as the vice chair of the ISO Board of Governors, whose role will include substituting for the chair when the chair is unable to fulfill his or her duties, for example, due to conflicts, absence, or unforeseen reasons. That would be effective January 1, 2026 to December 31, 2026, or until a successor is elected, which shall be as soon thereafter as practicable. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Or second.
Second. Oh.
So Governor Leslie was first, Governor Shorey is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
I'm glad to hear Angelina and Joe both voted aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you, governors. The motion passes. Thank you again, Chair, soon to not be Chair Borenstein. I've really greatly appreciated working with you as a chair, and really all of you are fabulous to work with. I'm looking forward to Joe as our chair and Angelina as our vice chair. Back to you, Chair
Roger. And now, Joe, I hand you the virtual gavel.
Not until January 1st.
Well, that's true.
We're going to call a special meeting on Christmas.
To hand the gavel. Okay. So agenda item 9, informational reports. Are there any questions or comments from the board on the informational reports? Okay. Agenda item 10, future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items that a board member would like to call out and have included in future meetings? Okay. Then if there are no other items, I will declare this meeting adjourned, and we will take a 10-minute break before reconvening an executive session. So we'll start up at 11:15.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Take care.
Bye.